Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I am Aditi Mehra. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 26th of March. Sri Lanka-China try to mend ties after cancellation of port project. Bangladesh celebrates its 45th Independence Day with fervor. And India crashes out of Cricket World Cup after losing to Australia. And now for all the details. While Afghan President Ashraf Ghani continued to hold peace and security talks with American leadership, his country continued to face a violent attack. A suicide bomb blast killed at least 7 people in the capital of Kabul on Wednesday.
Just when Afghan President Ashraf Ghani prepared to address lawmakers during his first official visit to the US, a suicide bombing near the presidential palace in the heart of Kabul killed at least 7 people and injured more than 30. The attack, the second in a week in the capital, is yet another sign of the fragile security situation Afghanistan faces despite the new government. Wednesday's attack comes a week after the Taliban claimed responsibility for a suicide bombing in Kabul that killed an influential police commander. The capital and strategic provinces of Afghanistan have been put on high alert ahead of the expected start of the militia's annual spring-summer offensive. The Taliban has warned that the decision to slow down the US troops' withdrawal from Afghanistan will only hamper peace and negotiation efforts. President Ghani had recently highlighted on the growing footprint of the Islamic State or IS fighters adding to the Taliban threat in the country. Speaking at a joint meeting of the US Senate and House of Representatives on Wednesday, President Ghani said the IS militants are already sending advance guards to southern and western Afghanistan to test for vulnerabilities. He sought peace with the Taliban and called for the reconciliation of the insurgents.
It is critical that the world understand the terrible threat that the Daesh and its allied forces pose to the states of Western and Central Asia. Terrorist movements whose goal is to destabilize every state in the region or looking for new bases of operation. We are the front line. The Taliban need to choose not to be Al-Qaeda and be Afghan. And if they choose to be Afghan, they will be welcome to be part of the fabric of our society.
US President Barack Obama had on Tuesday agreed to delay a planned withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan and maintain a force of 9,800 in the war-torn nation through the end of this year. This comes as the Afghan forces struggle to gain strength to fend off the growing militant concerns in the country and protect the regions being captured by the Taliban in the light of a power vacuum as US troops vacate grounds.
The political impasse in Bangladesh is affecting the economic progress of the country, the United States has said. It also expressed confidence that the political parties could jointly end the prevailing situation.
Key economic reforms aimed at lifting the living standards of nearly 60 million Bangladeshis have been hit by the ongoing political instability, US Assistant Secretary of State for South Asian Affairs Nisha Biswal has said. In a recent briefing to the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Asia and the Pacific, Biswal also said that the continued violence is a matter of concern. She, however, welcomed the recent lull of violence in the country. Acknowledging the potential of Bangladesh to become a model of a prosperous, strong and inclusive country, Biswal also said the US will continue its assistance to Bangladesh. Her remarks come close to a recent statement by the IMF, which also blamed the political violence in Bangladesh for its reduced growth projection. The IMF had predicted a growth rate of 6% against the government's target of 7.6%. Bangladesh's economy has taken a pounding due to the prolonged strikes. Industrial bodies had recently claimed that the country has suffered losses of over $16 billion because of the BNP-sponsored nationwide shutdowns which began in January.
Colombo and Beijing have pledged to work together for resolving the differences following a recent cancellation of a Chinese-backed port project in the island nation. Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena, who is on a China visit, is working to sort the issue out.
President Maithripala Sirisena was welcomed in capital Beijing by his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping as he began his first official visit to the country on Thursday. The two nations also signed 4 agreements on infrastructure and healthcare development. The visit, where President Sirisena is scheduled to hold a number of political and business engagements, is also expected to mend the recently strained ties. Ahead of his trip, China had said it hoped Sri Lanka to act on long-term interests. The new Sri Lankan government had recently ordered the suspension of the Colombo Port project, a $1.4 billion massive infrastructure initiative backed by a Chinese state-run company. The government had also sought a revision of terms of a $5.3 billion infrastructure loan by Sri Lanka. China had in recent years emerged as one of the prominent players in Sri Lanka's infrastructure sector with the backing of former governor under Mahinda Rajapaksa. But the new president Sirisena had during his election campaign itself promised to end what he termed as corrupt deals of the previous regime.
At least 30 suspected militants were killed in a military operation in Pakistan's Khyber Agency, the army has claimed. According to reports, Salahuddin Ayyubi, the spokesperson of banned terror outfit Lashkar-e-Islam, was among those killed on Wednesday in the latest army offensive in the lawless tribal region. A number of militant hideouts and ammunition depots were also destroyed in the attack. Terar Valley and its adjoining areas are witnessing a fierce crackdown by the army for the past few weeks. Khyber Agency is considered a stronghold of the Pakistan Taliban and the Haqqani network. In a bid to further uphold India's rich heritage and traditions, the Narendra Modi government had recently exempted yoga from tax, a move aimed to popularize it. Many, however, believe it won't make much impact on the ground level. A report.
Yoga is India's gift to the world. That's how Finance Minister Arun Jaitley described it when he announced that the practice will now be considered a charitable activity in India, thereby befitting tax exemptions. The hope is savings will be passed on to the consumers, and that will in turn entice more people to stretch their way to health. But some economists say the country is giving up a big chunk of tax revenue for nothing.
I think a common man is anyway close to yoga in the sense of Indian tradition. So all that this does is maybe if somebody wants to open a high level yoga salons, they will benefit. People who have practiced spiritualism plus yoga, they anyway didn't come under the tax net. So it doesn't make a difference to the vast majority.
Yoga practitioners naturally are on cloud 9. Many believe this will attract enthusiasts from all over the world and bring in major foreign dove. If the government's plan to extend visa on arrival to 150 countries pushes through, yoga hubs like Mysore are expected to reap the windfall.
Many yoga promoters will get an advantage to grow as industry, to grow as business, to grow as small shops, or to grow as, the total market. And yes, the only thing is that it's too broad spectrum, because yoga could be philosophy also, yoga could be origin, history, science, application. I would have been happier had he defined, the verticals of yoga, but nevertheless, if he says yoga, which means all and sundry, so everything comes into it, anything and everything to do with yoga will get a lot of fillip.
Despite being the birthplace of yoga, India lags far behind the US when it comes to the investments in the sector. But it is certainly getting some attention now. It not only gained the special tax status, but at the urging of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the United Nations has also declared June 21st as World Yoga Day. Nidhi Rai, South Asia Newsline, Mumbai.
Patriotic fervor gripped Bangladesh as the nation observed its 45th Independence Day on Thursday by paying homage to millions of martyrs who laid down their lives during its freedom movement.
It was a day high on nationalistic spirit. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina led the celebrations by hoisting the national flag at the National Parade Ground in capital Dhaka. The event was marked by jubilant cultural shows as various groups put up songs, dances and tableaux depicting the traditions of the country. The participants soaked themselves around a sea of national flags too. It was on this day in 1971 when the nation's founding father Sheikh Mujibur Rahman declared independence of Bangladesh from Pakistan. Bangladesh eventually emerged on the world map in December 1971 following a 9-month-long war.
She might be turning 3 in a couple of days, but she already has the world at her feet. Take a look at how this toddler is hitting the bullseye.
For Cherukuri Dolly, it's all about aiming at her dreams. The kid from Vijayawada in India's southern Andhra Pradesh has grabbed enough attention for her unique talent. Dolly set a new record in archery and entered the India Book of Records this week. The toddler scored 388 points over 16.5 feet and 23 feet distances, becoming the youngest archer to enter the record book. Dolly appeared to be confident as she shot the arrows in right circles with her tiny fingers.
Cherukuri Dolly Shivani, born on April 2, 2012, a trainee of Cherukuri Volkar Archery Academy from Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh, scored most points in 36 arrows, each at 122 cm target, face from 7 meter, and 80 cm target, face from 5 meter at BMC Volkar Archery Field, Vijayawada on March 24, 2015. And that is a new Asia Book of Records, and that is a new India Book of Records.
Dolly's parents groomed her to be an archer champion from birth after the tragic death of her elder siblings. Her father, who runs an archery academy, has vowed to get Dolly's name entered in the Guinness Book of World Records.
A wave of despair spread across India as its cricket team was knocked out of the ongoing World Cup on Thursday. Despite putting up a brave fight, India was defeated by Australia in the semi-final match by 95 runs.
They kept praying all day long. While some took to special fire rituals, others decked their deities in the team's jersey. But the aspirations of 1 billion fans came crashing down on Thursday after the men in blue ended their dream of defending the World Cup trophy this year. Fans kept glued to their television sets since early morning. At many places, cricketing buffs also watched the match on big screens. But the final result didn't make them happy. They said it was a moment of gloom.
टूर्नामेंट हम बहुत अच्छा खेले थे, लेकिन अभी मालूम नहीं आज ये क्या हो गया। लेकिन कोई बात नहीं है, क्रिकेट है, हर चीज चलता रहता है। लेकिन बहुत अंदर से दुख हुआ है क्योंकि हम इस बार डेफिनेटली जीत सकते थे, लेकिन अभी क्या कर सकते हैं। चलो बहुत दुख है, क्या करेंगे। आज विराट कोहली का भी दिन खराब रहा सबका, और जिस तरह से हमारी उम्मीदें थी, हम सब आज सब काम वाम सब छोड़ छाड़ के जिस तरह से हम लोग मैच देख रहे थे, आज थोड़ी मायूसी हुई, लेकिन अच्छा खेली इंडिया।
Defending champion India, which had remained unbeaten so far, faced Australia at the Sydney Cricket Ground amid a packed stadium on Thursday. Despite an impressive performance by the Indian bowlers, Australia, which chose to bat first, set a mammoth target of 329 to chase. But the early fall of top order put India under stress from the very beginning. While Shikhar Dhawan got out at 45, Rohit Sharma went at 34. Virat Kohli also disappointed his fans by walking back with a single run. Skipper MS Dhoni also got run out at 65, leaving the audience aghast. Steven Smith's century and his remarkable partnership with Aaron Finch led his team to victory. Australia will clash with New Zealand in the final match on Sunday.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Sri Lanka-China try to mend ties after cancellation of port project. Bangladesh celebrates 45th Independence Day with fervor. And India crashes out of Cricket World Cup after losing to Australia. Now, our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter at SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.